I'm here with Marzi Musician. We're going to talk about Music Library, but first of all, we just figured out that we both went to the Manor House probably 20 years ago.
Yeah, a little while back.
One of the most amazing clubs I've been to.
Yeah.
Converted Manor House.
Yeah, just outside of Bournemouth. Amazing. Really good
And
time.
you played there?
Played there once, yeah, did a warm-up set.
What would you have been playing? House?
It would have been more like a progressive house, like an old Sasha Digweed, Renaissance, that type of vibe. My favourite.
You said you were sort of that Renaissance.
So I started out sort of early. I went actually to Matcham's, the Fantasia at Matcham's, so that was more the early rave scene. Then I was DJing a lot, and I got more into sort of more progressive house, Sasha Digweed, and that was where, like, for an early part of my career, I was just basically doing a lot of DJing, all vinyl, nice long mixes, old school.
We were saying earlier about long transitions.
Yeah.
Seamless. Yeah, all vinyl.
Yeah, very much. I mean, it's all about trying to create the third track in between two tracks to have a nice long transition, and it's a lot different to probably how we do it now. Less sort of transition effect, much more smoother. That's still what I do now. Still enjoy that.
How much do you get to play vinyl still?
I still play vinyl a lot. I have my own collection in my room. That's at home, but I tend to obviously do all of my mixing now with digital. Yeah. I've moved to the dark side.
On the light side, depending on how you look at it.
I'm a techie. I think I've moved on.
Yeah. So, did you take any of your vinyl over to digital?
I've got quite a lot of stuff actually. Generally, I've repurchased digitally, but now I play more melodic, progressive house, like Anjuna type stuff. So different to what I have on vinyl. Although I get a lot of influence from my old vinyl in the productions that I do, so I produce as well.
And where do you play mostly?
So mainly at the moment I'm doing a weekly radio show, community radio, and I'm actually focusing more on the actual production side now. So not playing out as much as I used to, focusing more on the production side.
And so we're going to talk about Music Library and prepping your tracks. So which, you said Beatport, do you mostly use Beatport?
Generally I purchase via Beatport. I use Recordbox, so I'm more Pioneer based. In terms of library selection, my process is quite lengthy. I have quite a long process that I go through because I produce as well. I look for reference tracks, so I'm listening to a lot of music, and what I tend to do is I repost on SoundCloud over a period. Quite a lot. I'll be listening to loads and loads of tracks. I might like a lot on Spotify, and then those that I want to repost, I repost. And how I prepare my sets is I go through my history of reposts, and based on the sort of theme of a set, I'll pick those and I'll purchase them from Beatport.
Nice. So you go through so you're listening on SoundCloud, stuff you like it, you repost it, and then when it's time to do a set, you're like, okay, I'm going to go through my history, because I liked it then, I'm going to like it now, and you pick out the stuff that's relevant.
Yeah, so a lot of my sets will be, it could well be 6 or 12 months ago, the music I quite like that, because it means I'm not just playing the latest immediate releases. I will bring in some that might be more current, but I like going back through the history. The other thing I do is I listen to a lot of live mixes, mixtapes
on Mixcloud.
On Mixcloud or YouTube of artists that I really like, and they often list out their tracks. So the ones that I really feel, I'll take those, repost them, buy them, put them in a set.
Nice, got it. And so once you downloaded your stuff, how are you storing stuff in a folder on your computer and then into? Yeah,
generally I create a playlist per week. So I do a weekly radio slot. So I'll create that set. Generally, I'll look at it. I tend to start with a more low, like 122 BPM, and sort of build them, usually finishing with a bit of melodic breaks. So generally go with BPM and then look at the key. I don't really use a lot of the shortcuts, or I'm very much like old school, listen to the tracks if they blend well. I usually can feel the key. I know it anyway from music theory and from being a producer. So I just pick tunes that blend well and do nice transitions.
Really. So do you use the analysis in Recordbox?
Generally, to get... I like to lay the BPM in order and just generally look at the key. The key's quite important to quickly work out if you think those tracks won't. If you're doing it quickly, it's quite a good help to see if the track won't work. But I'll always use my ear and just play it, I'll prep the set, and if a couple of tracks don't gel, I'll swap it around. And usually working between 12 or 13 tracks, it tends to work out.
And presumably with the radio show, that you're not vibing off the audience, so you might switch things around a bit, but you've got a reasonably structured format for that.
Yeah, generally they're quite well prepped. The sets are well prepped in advance, and I do it on a Sunday night, so it's not really a major live kind of audience, but I'm working.
Do you put cue points in your tracks for your long transitions, or you sort of feel it as you go?
I'm just so old school for me. Like, I've listened to so much records as a kid. As I grew up, I know, like, most producers follow a set pattern, and you can just hear it and you know it.
Yeah.
So key points help. If you've got that background like I have, it's like really, I prefer just winging it a bit.
Oh, and when you're producing your own tracks, do you add in all your metadata and categorize everything?
Yeah, generally I'd like to use, like, where I have releases coming out, I have a couple of tracks coming out in June and July, so they'll be included in my sets as I get a chance to promote my own on the radio show.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're all labelled, and I sort of analyse them in record box as well.
Nice.
And it's a good, what I call the mix test. So sometimes my productions aren't quite at the level that some of my favourite tracks are, and that's a good way of me testing out where I'm at with my productions.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Nice.
Call it the mix test.
No, the mix test. I like it.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. And then do you sometimes play out parties and?
Yeah, a little bit more sort of social friends, but that's something post lockdown. Obviously, it hasn't really. For me, I've been focusing more on music production. But yeah, now I've got more tracks that are actually mine coming out. I'm starting to getting interesting DJing out.
Get back out in the world.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Look forward to it. So nice to talk to you, Miles. Thanks very much.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Nice to meet you.
Cheers.